If you're new to the world of NIKKE, you've probably seen the word heretic pop up in the story and thought, what exactly are these things? Well, today we're going to break down exactly what heretics are, where they came from, and why their names actually hide deeper meanings tied to philosophy and ideology. And trust me, once you see the pattern, you'll never look at them the same way again. Heretics are monsters. At one point, they were NIKKEs, warriors who fought to protect humanity. So how do NIKKEs become heretics? The answer is corruption. Through betrayal, manipulation, or experimentation, their bodies and minds are warped until they're no longer the same. At first, we were told corruption was permanent, no cure, no salvation. Once it set in, the NIKKEs you knew was gone forever. But recent events in the story have started to challenge that idea, and that's where things get interesting. Originally, corruption wasn't seen as something the Raptures created. It was treated more like a sickness, a plague that NIKKE just happened to suffer from. But then the truth came out. The corruption we've been seeing was actually created by Red Shoes, who, if you remember, was once a close friend of Cinderella. Not only did she create it, but she used Cinderella herself as a test subject, corrupting her completely. And the result was horrifying. Cinderella wasn't herself anymore. She was a lifeless husk, a puppet with no will of her own. She couldn't speak, she couldn't resist. She was mute and fully controlled by corruption. That was the image of heretics we started with, mindless slaves with no trace of who they once were. New heretics. But here, where things get really fascinating, the new generation of heretics doesn't follow that same pattern. Instead of being completely lifeless, they still retain personality. They think, they talk, they make choices, even if those choices are twisted. Take Nihilista. In her Bond story, she could literally kill you, but then develops a strange kind of fondness for you afterward. Or look at Liberalio, she directly speaks to you as if you're her equal. So corruption today doesn't seem like total domination. It feels watered down, not harmless but less absolute. I personally believe corruption now targets NIKKEs who already hold resentment toward the Ark or humans. They're easier to sway, easier to bend, and maybe, just maybe, full control is no longer possible, or the cure is too effective once a NIKKE is completely taken over. But even with all this, there's no denying corruption still twists personalities. We only need to look at Marion to see how drastically a NIKKE can change when corruption takes hold. Now let's go through the big names, because every single heretic is tied to a deeper philosophical idea. In Devillia, she's loyal to the Rapture Queen and is far from a good person. Her name comes from individualism, which emphasizes personal freedom and self-reliance over the needs of a group. Her design pulls from Egyptian themes, with scorpion elements, and if you know her story, you know the cruelty she's capable of. Nihilista, visually, she's a fire dragon. Her name comes from nihilism, the philosophy that Denny's life has inherent meaning or value, and it fits she's unhinged and destructive. But here's the twist, unlike other heretics, she can be reasoned with. She even hates the queen herself and doesn't want to be left alone. Out of all of them, she feels the most human. Liberalio, known as the Gene Reaper, and also a rival to Nihilista. Her name links to liberalism, which centers on individual rights and liberty. Her design is based on a jellyfish, and I personally think she may be connected to the Little Mermaid, since her weapons have jellyfish-like traits. And Hansel and Gretel, the remaining members of Cinderella's squad. Their full roles are still developing, but they clearly play a role in her story. Modernia, the most well-known heretic and of course connected to our beloved Marion. Her name is tied to modernism, and she represents change, transformation and corruption through modernization. Which brings us to Marion herself. Marion symbolizes her original, loyal self, a NIKKE serving humanity. Modernia symbolizes her corrupted, altered self, a being reshaped by rapture influence and philosophical themes of modernization. So when we step back, we can see the naming pattern clearly. This isn't random. Each heretic is more than just a corrupted Nick. They represent different ideologies and philosophies. It makes corruption symbolic, not just physical. It's as if every heretic is a reflection of an idea twisted into monstrous form. And here, the kicker, with how deep this pattern goes, I don't think we've seen everything yet. I believe the story is building toward huge bombshells in upcoming updates. The heretics we know might just be the beginning, and their ties to philosophy could mean every new one adds another layer to Nick's themes of identity, loyalty, and corruption. So stay tuned, because the heretic storyline, it's only going to get darker, deeper, and a lot more personal. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and let me know in the comments which heretic you think has the most interesting meaning behind their name.